and have some kind of mental illness. But we're in the class, well, sick man here, is it? And we make sick man mentality such a good thing that you do more sick man things because we glorifying the partner as a sick man. Caribbean people don't believe that we need counseling. We don't believe in counseling because black people don't need counseling. We believe counseling is for Caucasians. You understand? We don't understand that mental health is a real thing, and it can be treated. And we grew up giving each other jokes. I mean, to the point where we normalize mental illness and not normalize treating mental illness. So that's what I would say. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. We are doing a very special episode tonight because men don't get talked about much in the right way. I know ladies talk about this in the wrong way sometimes, but June being Men's Mental Health Month is something that I think needs to be brought to the forefront of everything. So tonight, we have a panel of only men. Our temporary guests right now are our female panelists who are going to be asking questions from a woman's point of view. And we also have a couple other guests that are going to be coming in. So we have our regulars tonight, and we have a young man who's going to step in from, that point of view. We have Kieran here, who's a guest panelist on us tonight, who's going to give his point of view as a professional, married man, father, and what have you. Jason, with his expertise, will also be giving us some scientific explanations and whatnot. Is that what you're working on right now?
We're just being
Studious, all right. So I wanted to start with a few stats that I don't think a lot of people know or understand. That nearly 1 in 5 men experience some sort of health condition, mental health condition. It's significantly less than women to seek professional mental health treatment. Now, I also had 4 out of 5 suicides are men. 80% of suicides around the world are men. Now, some people might say, man, you need to man up, you need to be strong. But, we're human beings. We feel, we have emotions. And sometimes we would say, I would say men are the simpler sex, not in a bad way, but it's easier to convert us to whichever way we need to be. I mean, do you guys have anything else you want to add right now as we're starting in terms of what are some of the things that you could say affect you as a man, being a father, married, maybe being single, being young, being a professional? Anybody?
Well, if I were to good night, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for being here. Happy to be here. If I were to just touch on one of the things you said there in terms of the amount of suicide among men, I think it goes back to how men were acculturated. Because you would know that a lot of the times growing up, you would hear stuff like, you're a man up, men don't cry, get over it, you fall, just get back up, as if you're a robot or you're a piece of machinery. And men are not like that. Men are humans like the opposite sex. And when you tend to bottle up everything inside, at one point in time, you will exhale, you will crash out, you will break down, you will explode. So it's important that forums like these are important, and it's important that men speak up. And if there's one thing that I would encourage men to do, is to speak up, speak out, and express what is in there. Men don't cry. Well, there is this man that walked the planet way back then. I don't want to become all theological, but even that man, Jesus Christ, he wept and he cried. That's to show you that as much as powerful as he was, as man as he was, he wept and he cried. He expressed his emotions. And it's important that men do that as well.
In life, whether we go religiously, biologically, or anything, we as human beings are communal creatures. We are designed to have a mate. We are designed to have a partner. And exactly what you said is that I remember seeing something, and it was a comedian that said it, He said, men are only allowed to feel 4 emotions: happy, hungry, horny, or angry. Everything else besides that is considered gay. But in a funny way, he was saying that men feel, like you say, we feel sadness, we feel depression, we have melancholy, we like things, but because of how we are socially engineered in a way of as people say, how you're brought up, it's like we stifle all those things because we don't want to look weak. We don't want to look vulnerable, And it's sad because a lot of men, and I actually had 2 experts who I spoke with, and one of them actually brought up to me that in men, there are a lot of undiagnosed mental conditions. Now, mental conditions don't mean you're crazy or whatever it is, but ADHD, certain spectrums of autism. Some people can have Down syndrome and not know because they're just slightly on the spectrum. And we, as men, carry trauma a lot deeper than women because we tend to shut down. We tend to not know where to put our emotions. We tend to not have a proper support system around us. Like you say, you fall, get up, I say, you're okay. If a little girl falls, you cuddle her, and it goes forward. And then most of the times, both of those therapists said that when men actually do seek therapy and they go deep into it, you'll be surprised what comes out and what can be the little mustard seed that has caused the monster to grow inside of them.
Yeah, good point. I want to kind of add to that because you said something about both of you said something about being told to get up and just man up. A lot of those times you may hear that from mothers, from women. I mean, not saying that men don't do it too, but the single parent situation has been a thing. So how can a woman tell a man how to be a man? How can a woman tell a young boy how to grow up to be a man? You're just looking at me and telling me man up just because I fell? Nah, like something else. You have to actually, understand that I'm in pain, that I fell, that something's hurting, that, you need to, be it mother, be it father, be it whoever it is, just give some kind of attention and just say, well, hey, it's going to be all right. Sometimes that's all you need to hear. Moving on into adulthood, there's always the pressure of maybe, for some men, can handle it, the pressure of maybe being a provider, having to think about, boy, I have bills to pay, I have kids to feed, I have, all kinds of situations going on, and maybe sometimes you're getting pressure at home. You say, you're not making enough money, you're thinking this and that not going on. So there's all kinds of situations that maybe just push men, just a little bit off the edge, and create those monsters.
I think that societally we don't pay attention to men's mental health. From growing up as a little boy, as everyone else said, you fall down, get up, brush it off. You're good. You cannot cry. You cannot express any emotion because then that will make you look weak. They'll see you acting like a girl. And you grow up learning to hide your emotions, don't act out, don't express anything. And eventually it comes to a point where it has to be let out. At a certain point, you will reach a breaking point, and some people handle it healthily. Some people go to therapy. Some people just crash out, do something crazy, end up in prison, end up dead. And I find that there needs to be more focus on men's mental health. I'm not saying that we need to just tell them, just express your feelings anyhow you feel, because that would be not a necessarily good thing, because growing up not expressing your feelings, just letting it all out in an unhealthy way would not be good. But gradually, we should learn how to handle our feelings more and more and be able to express them and pay a little more attention to our mental health.
Okay, so you spoke on the suicide rates amongst men, and there's a general trend. Everybody knows the mortality rate for men is actually lower than women. From my experience in the healthcare industry, guys tend to access the service a lot less. And there's also less tailored services for men since most healthcare systems are geared towards children and pregnant women and women in general. And we all know before a woman stump her toe, she in the doctor office trying to figure out what's wrong with her. A man,
That do have to fall
he
off.
ready to fall down. He figure he's a fatty woman inside. He want to go to doctor for anything. I seen men impale their toes with pickaxes and they don't want to go to doctor until they're ready to fall out.
A little tickle at there.
Let's catch it.
As for the express emotions thing, you have to be careful with that. Most times the reward for being too sensitive to women is they weaponize it against you when you're
Yes.
at your most vulnerable state. I had to deal with some brothers during the time of grief. One of the most make or break time for men is a loss of a parent. So I had to deal with two brothers who, when they lost their parents, going through all the emotions of them. As somebody who went through that kind of loss myself. And it's always good to have somebody to talk to. If you don't have somebody to talk to, a friend, not necessarily a partner, but a friend, it goes a long, long way.
Yes, okay. You have a question?
I think I just stay quiet, but I have a question. How do you train a man to handle or balance their emotions? So you're speaking about emotions. And if you can train a man or teach a man or help a man balance his emotions, is it something that can be taught young or
So I will go back to one of the episodes that we had, and this is not being misogynistic or anything, but only a woman can raise a woman, and only a man can raise a man. It doesn't have to be the father, but like we said, it has to be a father figure or responsible male figure in his life that can really get him, because kids emulate, you know? I have a very good friend of mine I've known from since we're kids, and he was raised in a house of females. And his mannerisms are feminine. You understand? And he had men around him and whatnot, but the constant energy around him was feminine energy. I have a friend of mine who owns a gym, and he couldn't make it, but he sent a voice note expressing one of the situations he had to go through, where there was a guy who dealt with a woman, and this way, as I said, the support comes from both ends. From a friend that you can confide in, like Jason said, and from a partner. Pardon? No, I will say, but I won't share the voice note. But basically, he said that his woman expected him to pick her up from work, so he had to get a car. Everywhere she wanted to go, she didn't want to take bus. He had to provide. He had to do this. So he started to gain a little weight, and he started to lose a little confidence in himself, because she now, after he was already stressed out making sure he was providing for her, and he put himself behind, he was gaining weight and his self-esteem was low, she's now started, oh, your belly getting big, this and that and the other. So he went to the gym. And him also being a professional and understand some mental health, and the gym also helps with your mental health, pushed him to get himself to where it was. And he said in no time his arms started, toning out, his belly got smaller, and he started, like he said, he started to stand up like a man again. And a lot of the women in the gym started to look at him, and it gave him confidence. Now, that's how easy it is to steer a man in the right path. Sometimes a woman needs a group. That's because y'all are just built that way. A man just needs one person in his corner, one other male in his corner that he can confide in and not feel like, that's what we're talking about, guys. Don't worry about that. Like, men tend to, that's one of the other things one of the professionals said, that men with undiagnosed mental conditions tend to steer to substance abuse because they self-medicate, alcohol, whatever it is that they go through. And what happens is sometimes you know what you should do. I should stop smoking, I should stop drinking, I should start exercising. But we are susceptible to peer pressure a lot easier than women. And when you have no one to support you, I said, take a drink, excuse me, take a drink, I said, what you worrying about, I said, let's smoke that, I said, let me go out, I said, don't worry with that, you'll do this. A little pain you have, I said, sometimes it's prostate cancer, the man have his kidney blowing out in his back, then it's like, a little pain you have, I said, don't worry, just drink a shot, I said, we're good. You know, and as men, we're supposed to be our brother's keeper. If you consider someone your friend, you're supposed to be able to tell them, yo, you're messing up. Yo, you everything okay, Gasta? You're looking tired lately, you know? There's nothing wrong in confiding and having a conversation. And we tend to feel that when we're being out of the box emotional for men, it's like, hey, Gasta, I'm to that man, Gasta. That man funny, like since when I'm talking like that, whatever it is. You know, I personally have lost 2 friends to suicide, and I know it can be very jarring to say, but what did I miss? You understand? Or when you understand, it's like, wow, that's what really happened, you know, and how easy it is. Because like he said, we're always on the edge because we hold so much in. So somebody just takes that one extra for them to say, well, to hell with it, man. You know, I done. And I saw something on Instagram, and a woman was saying what she realized in a lot of her male patients is when they do that, because they feel less of a man, not being able to provide enough, not being able to support enough, they feel that whatever they're doing is everyone around them is going to be better off for them not being in their life because they don't have the support of them saying, you are a good father, you are a good brother, you are a good friend. You know? So.
Yeah, the social expectations around men's success in the classic provider role is unsustainable, especially when most of the workforce is made up by females. At my last workplace, I must have been the only man there besides the security guard. Dead serious.
Yeah, it happens, you know.
Yeah, I was the only guy there. And then the biggest joke, I was young. We wanted to go out for drinks. Safe space. We want to go out for drinks and they laugh. Yeah. We wanna go out for drinks and all the ladies like, oh, you should buy the wrongs. I say, but which one are you like for me to buy wrongs? So everybody, even when you're not in a relationship, they expect you to provide for them.
We all have the same payday with the same place. What wrong with them women, Yasser?
Now we have this in PD.
You know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you have female colleagues in the same organization with you, everybody, if the payday is the first, yeah, boy, we all get paid the same day, but they expect you, boy, Jason, what happened there? See, you have a pay for them and pass something.
Yeah, well, you know how it is. And then they have the expectation of you providing without them providing anything in return for that.
Exchange no robbery. I don't care what you say.
I just want to say a few things before I address the question that she raised. We've touched on a few of them, but I think I need to just go back to it a little. Men, as we know, are created and wired differently than women. That's a given. We all know that. That's general knowledge. He said earlier on, only a woman can raise a woman and only a man can raise a boy. I agree. But it's not to say that a woman cannot raise a boy into a man. I'll go further to say a woman cannot raise a boy into a man how a man would raise that boy into a man. I'll go further to say, better yet, a man and a woman would raise a boy into a man better than a man alone would be able to do.
Very true.
Yeah, and
Very true.
the roles can be reversed for the daughter, right?
Mm-hmm.
You spoke about the young man that was raised among mainly females, right? Sisters, mothers. No doubt the energy, the estrogen, the feelings, the hormones and all those things, yeah? I go and got the terminology as well, are what that boy will be growing up with, growing up around, right? You do not have that male lionish, roarish, hardish, toughish type of energy feeding him, right? That is why it is important that, for a lot of things, that men, before we go out there spreading the seeds and obeying the big command to be fruitful and multiply, that we consider what we're doing. Because you want to a question, you want to know that you are raising a version of you that can be a leader tomorrow, a visionary tomorrow, right? One that will impact positive change in his space, regionally, locally, and internationally, right? Raising that boy, you have to teach him, hey, that it's okay to cry. But at the same time, you have to be cognizant of the fact that you're raising a boy and the pressures, societal and otherwise, will come to bear on him. So you need to give him that mental toughness. You need to be able to, you see some boys, before anything is said to them, they cry. Whilst you might want to tell him it's okay to cry, but you want to limit you want to somewhat tamper. You can't be cuddling him too much, because even ladies and even his lady coming up will have that expectation of him to be able to be that umbrella and to be that person that should be able to stand up. I believe it's wired in us. I believe it's innate in us not to bend for any little thing. The extent to which some men may bend varies, because we are not all created differently. And
some of them may bend over.
That's right. That's right. That's correct. That's correct.
Different thing.
Yeah, sure.
Listen, I hole in my mouth. I was like,
Yeah, nobody's a reality.
that's why I watch this and I'm like, don't say it.
Nobody's a reality, whether intentionally or optionally, whether it's forcefully. It's a reality, right? Okay. Now, there was a point that slipped me a bit. I was about to say men are wired differently in that, and even ladies, right, are expecting us men to man up, to shape up, to lead, to take the charge, to cover, to control, to lead, to supply, to protect, to love, to guard, right? These are all what men are made to do. Men, I believe, should be doing and is expected to do. So these are the type of things you want to ensure that you hone your child around and ensure that he becomes well-rounded. Yes, you can cry, but at the same time, crying too much can be seen, as you said, a weakness on your part and may be taken advantage of, and the list can go on and on. And
now you can also, not to cut you short, but you can also, you see, we use some of the terms like crying. Sometimes I wouldn't say tears, but to me it's okay for a man to just say, babe, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. Like I've had a long day at work, and not to say he wants her to do anything, but just, all right, babe, just come and lay down.
Yeah, the cry may not be literal cry.
You know,
it could be that. It could be that.
It's
a form of.
Yeah, but the literal tears thing, I get what you're saying. You know?
I hope that a safe space is created for you all to even have that avenue to do so. Because sometimes, unfortunately, that our men are placed in situations in terms of partnership where they are not given that safe haven of expression, where they could actually say, you know what, babe, today I'm tired, And I often wonder, sometimes we often say, oh, men are wicked, but the reality is we have some wicked women too. And we have women that are not understanding of a man's tiredness or mental depression or mental state. They don't respect it. So for our viewers and women who may be watching, how can we, from a man's perspective, teach them or help them understand or help me understand how to be more understanding to your mental state? Or
But just in general, be able to create a safe space within homes so our partners can,
Before Jason goes, I'll just say one quick thing. Exactly to your point, there are a lot of women who have communication issues and they believe they can rant, they can argue, they can shout at their man, and because he's a man, he's supposed to be able to stand it because you're supposed to be the rock. But the more you chip away that rock will eventually disappear, and I don't know. I'll get back to that. Jason.
Yeah, man, that rock will turn into a shiny diamond. And
I said chip and not press, eh?
Diamond.
So,
a shiny diamond.
that's what you're getting at home, Jason.
Me? Ashton, let's stay away from my bedroom, please.
I ain't talking.
Anyhow, let me go with that question. So,
Moving on.
Carol spoke about communication. That's what I would say. One thing I learned, you can't teach anybody anything. First thing you have to understand is what you're looking for in a relationship. And then don't look for potential in somebody. But try to see with true seeing eyes that this is what the person is going for. This is what you're going for, because a lot of people say they want to lose weight, but they like to eat food. So if you like to eat a lot, it's not going if losing weight. So if you like to spend money, don't look for a man that's trying to build a house, because when he tell you
we're not buying that.
We're not buying, and then you say, but baby, and then you put them under some kind of pressure. The biggest thing in a relationship is to try and listen to your partner and truly understand what they're saying. If I say, I want to go for a drive, I don't want to, hey, I go in and check Jennifer down the road. Or, what, you don't want to see me today? What happened to you? Why your face like that?
Or why you want alone time?
Yeah, why you want alone time? Am I doing something wrong to you? When sometimes you just want a little space. You just want a little space. You want the person, but you just want a little space. Because even pillars have to stand apart to be strong.
You mean sometimes you want some peace? Not only a space. Say what it is. You want
no.
peace.
Sometimes
So
you just
if I want peace and my woman can give me peace, then I go and
Not
peace
that
myself
kind of peace,
somewhere.
Jason.
not that, yeah. I was about to say not that kind of piece, eh?
There.
Jason behave these days.
So
I wasn't talking about that kind of peace.
I'll give a little bit of stats while we're in here. 30 years ago, 50% of suicides in men was under 55. Today, 50% of suicides are men under 35. So to me, that stands out because something is socially wrong. That men are getting fed up and giving up younger and younger.
So can I ask a young man to cut you short? So Joel, what do you think it is with the younger generation or the younger guys that have them hanging themselves?
Well, I think it has a lot to do with social media. Because unlike before, where you would have to go out in the world, you have to meet people, talk to people constantly. When you away from home, nobody can reach you. Now we have a phone, we can just go on it. The entire world is there. You see in whatever. You go on Instagram and you see the highlight reels of everybody. You see the best parts of their life. You don't see what they had to do to get that. You don't see what struggles they are going through. You don't see what they had to do to stay in that hotel. But you see this person is here, this person is here. Every week they travel in. I want to be like that. I want to do this, I want to do that. And it starts to wear on your mind because even though you're at a young age, you're thinking, I should have this, I should have that, I should have that. Because you're seeing people your age having all these things online. So it will wear you down, and for me, it doesn't really affect me, but I could see how seeing all of that constantly could affect somebody to the point where they're thinking like, I'm behind and I basically feel at life because I'm 24 and I do have 2 mansions and 5 cars because that's what I seen everybody online have. Yeah, so I really think social media plays a large part, not 100%, but social media and the fact that a lot of people don't look for help. They don't do therapy. They They might have traumas from the past that affecting them, but social media is one of the main parts, I would think.
All right, let me just cut in for a little bit there. Joel, just asking you, your age range. Don't give me your exact age. What's your age range?
2025,
And your parents' age range.
50 to 65.
Okay. All right. Only son, early, youngest, the last son. Okay. So how many other siblings or brothers do you have?
I have one brother.
One brother. How much older is he?
He is about, I think,
33?
No, he's 15 years older than me.
15 years older than you. And what's your relationship with your brother like?
I talk to him every couple of months.
Okay, but I mean, growing up in general, what was it like? Was it part of your growing up in terms of your socialize, would you see a lot of relationship?
Went out together every once in a while. We weren't really close when I was growing up.
All right, so you might be afforded the opportunity to be raised in a family that is sizable, first and foremost, and for lack of a better word, from an older generation. So what you may be experiencing in terms of your maturity in thinking could be all that collective that you may have had in terms of that the time and the time that you were raised in. I hope I'm making sense, right? So your brother, probably 15 years your senior, lead put is there about. His lived experience and so on and so forth, right, is similar to what mine may have been, similar to what our age range may have been. So that culture that you may have had a bit of maturity in it. But a lot of your counterparts who lean onto the social media access of the age of their parents. Sometimes they might be the age of your brother, if you get where I'm coming from. So they themselves now inputting their own style of parenting, which is impacting that generation that's coming up. So we have to pay attention to those little parts. So you, in a way, I believe that you had to value the upbringing that you had because there was a sense of maturity and balance in terms of through generations. The typical 20-year-old right now have a different experience. They were raised by themselves. They were raised by devices. They were raised, what do you call them? Satellite or satellite parenting? That's what they call it? Yeah. So those things also add to it. And it makes it even more, not just for men, but we talk about men today. It makes it more difficult to grow a man in a situation like that. And we have to take that into consideration. So let's just opine around that idea of growing up and how we culture our children in that.
Yeah, I would say I still go back to the undiagnosed mental issues that men go through. Because like the stats had said, men are 4 times more likely to have undiagnosed mental conditions than women. Why? I don't know. Maybe it's biologically how we're wired, or so nature and nurture. There's another factor that I think I've seen or noticed is a young man can be doing everything. He has his career lined up. He has his university degree. He's getting a good job. He's, well-rounded citizen. And you look around and see the females hopping from man to man with the kosh and the bikes and the bad boy look and the bad boy lifestyle, getting cheated on, getting beat up. And he would sit down and say, but what's wrong with me? I'm doing everything right by social standards. Why are these young ladies my age picking them fellas? You understand? Or sometimes the grounded younger women are picking the older men because the older men now are steady and are on the same mindset that they have.
I've never seen that before in my life, by the way.
What? Which one?
So about
Seriously?
the men and brothers in their life, right? I would say some guys are fortunate enough to, even though they don't have a father, they have a male figure to look up to. I was fortunate. I had a father, I had a brother, I had an older cousin who were with me from different stages of my life, and also good friends. And I sure Joel have the same. Even though he might not see his brother that often, he still have male figures in his life to help say him, stay away from that shabbing or focus on this and make sure you do that.
My father nature boy.
Well, some of us try to treat men and some of us try to stay away from shabits.
Then
I think one of the key factors in raising kids, not just men, is the support group, and it takes a village to raise somebody. And I also like us to focus. You said earlier about only a man could raise a man. I sincerely believe in gender dimorphism. So there are differences between male and women, but there's also a spectrum. They have some guys which can be a little on the feminine side, but still straight, and some women who can look totally like a woman and straight up think and act like a man. And they're looking good too, you know. They're not looking like no man. They're not looking like no man.
I want to touch on your stats and what my colleague here said. It's troubling for me, the stats that you gave. Back then, men over 50, I think, is what you said, were the ones really committing suicide. But now we're seeing mostly young men under 45 committing suicide. And you said something is wrong. Something is really wrong. As to when and how we fix it, I don't know. I never believe in learned helplessness. I always believe there is hope and change can happen. But a lot of the times we're looking for the change to start somewhere and with other people and not us. And I think with such forums like this and others, we can be the catalyst for the type of change that we're looking for. To have young men under 45 taking their life speaks volume. It speaks to a wider problem and bigger problems that we have to delve into. He mentioned...
So what do you think is the main cause of the increased rates for male suicide and the younger ages?
I cannot put my hand on one. It has to be a multiplicity of issues.
Take a while, I guess.
Right? It has to be a multiplicity of issues. He brought up social media. While I will never underestimate the power and the influence of social media, but to me, to blame it on social media is symptomatic of a bigger problem. One, the type of self-control that we're supposed to have is lacking. The type of relationships that we're supposed to have is lacking. The type of upbringing we're supposed to have is lacking. The type of parenting that we're supposed to have is lacking. And I can go on and on and on, because you have these are young people growing up being murdered and fathered by people who were not properly murdered and fathered.
Kids themselves in some cases.
You understand? Kids raising kids. And that creates a lot of problems, right? So that is why we have to go back to the basics. And if we really want to effect change, any change management specialist will tell you, you have to look at the root cause. I think you're in the medical field or sociological, psychological field, I don't know. You have to look at the root cause. Any issue or any industry or any profession that you're in and you have a problem, you have to look at the root cause. And we have to look at the root causes. If the roof is leaking, I cannot blame it on my son who was sending his ball up and it caused, no, it may be I did not take preventative maintenance on my own roof, and a little kick from my boy, of a little softball to the roof caused problem. No, so we have to look at the root problems. Parenting, I believe is key. I will never say and can never say that any man, any boy or woman that got proper parenting will not go astray. I cannot say that. But you'll be hard pressed to find that if a child got proper parenting, right, that he would be easily led astray or take a road that he should not. I was in a social media group, where a WhatsApp group filled with all type of professions, all type of you name it, all type of professions, from the lowest to the highest. And a lot of talk used to come up. And it was a lot of blame on the young people, this about the young people, and what have you, and what have you, and what have you. I listened to the conversation, rant on for a while, and I asked one question. All the blame that is being placed on young people, who trained them? Who trained them? And sad to say, the conversation ended there. Right? Now, I do not want to hog the panel, but like I said, social media, yes, can be blamed. But while growing up, I knew fathers, men, not just in the home, but in the community, ensured that a young man learned to trade or learned trades, right? That young man had to be seen doing something. And if you're not doing something, right, you would often hear the older folk tell you, so now I do not know if
not everybody speaks Creole, so
right.
So
To translate, if you're not doing anything, the enemy will find something for you to do. Our value system growing up, right? And no society is perfect, right? Even if, as I mentioned those things, no society is perfect. But the value system that we had growing up, I'm still very young, but I'm old. The value system that we had growing up, or should I say old enough to speak on that?
Yes.
The value system that we had growing up was one where if you had an issue between even parents, right, and a child, understandably would come between and take side, the parent would say, my boy or my girl, step out of that. But now what we see, parents encourage their children into the row, the unforgiveness, the quarreling, the back and forth, the swearing, the disrespect. You understand? Even when parents had issues with their neighbors, the children would not get involved with that. If the children were to pass and not greet the parents would say, hey, go back and greet the child. And we have dropped these balls along the way. Now, when you do not do what you have to do, right? When you do not do what you have to do, or what should be done, or what is required of us to do, you will fester problems. You will create problems, right? Now, let me just mention one or two other things. You mentioned about the young lady that rather chose the bad boy, the one with the Porsche, the bike life, versus the one with the job, the car, well respected because they see that boy as soft and what have you. Again, that goes back to the fundamental issue of parenting. You have a situation where fathers are absent in the home, or fathers are bringing up children by themselves, or
sometimes the father can be in the home and still be absent, eh?
I'm coming to that. Very good point. Perfect point, right? Where ladies are bringing up children on their own. I always wonder, I have one son, right? He is such a handful. I can tell you my wife is right here. He's such a handful. I often wonder how a single parent can raise 2, 3, 4 children. That's a disaster. A remedy for disaster.
Not to cut you short, but you continue. Going back to your point, there were parents back in the day who were single mothers, and they raised 4 and 5 kids, eh? And all the kids turned out okay.
Note, I never said, and I will never say, or I can never say, a single parent cannot raise children into successful adults. I will not say that. I'm just simply going to say, I'm making the point that, hey, raising a child, my wife and I raising a child can be such a handful, right? And to give him what he needs, far less for a single parent trying to raise 2, 3, 4 children. It becomes a lot more burdensome. That's the point. Now, the young lady that will seemingly choose to fall for the young man, that has the caution, the this and that, and the questionable characters would say. I'm not knocking anybody. No, I'm not knocking anybody. I'm not saying because you have kosh or bike. No, no. But it goes to the issue of parenting. These sometimes, a lot of the times, if you were to do a simple survey, you would realize that these are young ladies that grew up never hearing from the father, I love you. Or to be hugged genuinely by a father. To clean the mouth when they eat. To pamper them, to make them feel valued, to give them that self-worth that they, to touch that emotional part of them. So what you find, before any young man can tell them, I love you, they're like, they would crumble. Because ladies, I believe, ladies long for that. Ladies long for the touch. They long for the cuddling. They long for that type of thing. So you have those issues. You have those issues that are created when you do not have the type of parenting,
But
the
there's
type
one
of
point
modeling,
there's
the
one
type
point you're
of
missing.
value system. Of course.
No, this not. There's one point
go
you're
ahead.
missing.
Go ahead.
You can continue, but there's one point you're missing.
I'm done for now. You can always.
Well, in the last point you made there, it's also the concept of masculinity, where going back to not having that figure in their life, to them knowing what true masculinity is, and thinking that someone who is macho or bravadous, bad boy, he looks, because it sends them back to their carnal brain, back in the day where the strongest man, he could kill a lion, he could defend me, he could hunt for food, he could do whatever it is, and the timid man, he wasn't so good. And a young man who's living life socially acceptable in the right way, in their eyes, is seen as soft, weak, timid. He can't provide the protection, but the bad boy with the bike and the smoking a joint and doing everything, that's who they would, gravitate to.
But that's a fallacy. That's a fallacy. And that is a wrong that need to be righted. That is a misconception. That is a miseducation. That is a misupbringing. That is a badly acculturated child, boy or girl or system that we have to correct. You understand what I'm saying? So, and again, it goes back to the fundamentals,
All right, can we take one comment from the audience before I rip loose?
I want to say one thing.
Okay, it's a comment and a question. As you guys were speaking, it got me thinking of my own upbringing with my father as his daughter and then my brother. So my father was never someone you could really be emotional with. If I was in any kind of like emotional state, he would tell me, go and speak to your stepmother. So I could imagine what it was like for my brother when he was growing up. So I agree with your point where it really starts in the home, especially with parents who are in that age range of 60 to 75. They are really studying mental health. I mean, they know of it, but they don't really understand. So I know nobody here is 60, hopefully, to 65. So as younger generation of men, the men, as a younger generation of men and fathers, how do you think, especially fathers of, it could be both female children and male children, how are you changing that narrative and having your children be more comfortable coming to you, expressing themselves if they feel like, the world is against them in that way?
Listen.
Okay, as our father, I would say there's always something, nobody tells everybody everything, right? And like I say, you have to be honest with yourself. So certain things your child will definitely come to you for, and certain things you have to give them time, even though you see it, though berate them. And according to my sister and my mother, choose your battles. Choose your battles. You see them doing something, it's not just the boys, but the girls also. You see them doing something, sometimes you have to let them take a little pluck for them to check themselves, because they might want to know why you tell them not to do it. So you can plant a little seed in their head, make them read a little book, and then let them experience it for themselves. And hopefully they don't get hurt so bad that the consequences they have to deal with it for the rest of their life. As for the parents showing love, it's not common I don't know about y'all, but how many of your fathers actually tell y'all he love y'all?
How many more?
Fathers actually say he love y'all.
I have both hands up.
Not me for sure. But he stuck around and he trained me and we worked alongside. I wouldn't even say train. You just around and then you follow because like you say, the kids emulate. Now the other part of that is I have to take a page from Anthony the mixologist. The bad boys on the bikes. I don't think it's that deep. I think of the girls as a fruit on a tree, right? You're watching your sour soup. The bad boy is the bird that flying and always watching it better than you. They see it and say, my girl, how you doing there? Bang, bang, bang. Meanwhile, you there in your little suit and thinking you mind your business trying to build yourself. You say, you already have in your mind the girls always there, but them fellas them fellas is the birds, them fellas always hunting, them fellas always looking for something to jump on. Sometimes you just catch them in a vulnerable state or when they're early enough to pull them away from whatever. I think it's important to... Now, you said you didn't know the root cause, but I hear you putting little dots we have to connect. Giving young people things to do, making sure they're not useless in themselves. If a young girl have nothing to do, what do you think she would do with herself? If a young boy have nothing to do, what do you think he'll do with himself? We see it right in front of us. I was the only guy besides the security guard at the workplace. What about the rest of the men? I see it in my community. I see the kid not going to school. They feel disenfranchised. What's the next thing you're going to do?
Find income.
You're going to break into somebody's house. You're going to
Because your belly will bite.
be
your
a
pocket will be
beggar.
empty.
You're going to maybe bend over or be easily
Bend
pulled
over.
by certain things.
Question in the audience.
Pedal back a bit on a few things that you talked about, especially what you touched about, because I was raised in a community where, or that the time where I was raised is anybody could discipline a child and a community raised a child. If I do something wrong and the elder person asks me, you know, to say sorry or apologize, and I don't, I get spanked probably once or twice from the person that's not my parent. And when I get home, if my mother get to know, you are getting it. In the church, we sat down. If you behave, somebody could walk to you and call out you. Now, today, children might look at it as a form of abuse. But guess what? It worked on us. Because you know if you do something wrong or somebody asks you not to, okay, you're supposed to stop. Now, what we find that hurts us today, as you said, you don't have no idea how we get there. But we all have an idea how we get there. We're just saying that we don't know how we get there, but we have an idea because we were there. I was there. I saw it. What I see too is, as you said, so the statistic says that about 50% of suicide, good. Let me go there with you for a minute. What happened before when you find a man and a woman break up? It wasn't the right thing to do, but they would go ahead and check another woman and forget about this woman. They would move forward. But what you find now, even when, and us men, we have to speak about that. When we as men buy something, we buy a television, we buy food, it's yours. You could give it to who you want. If somebody take it from you, you say they thief what is yours. But we mustn't use women like this. It is not our property to be used like this. When they say it's over, that's not what you want to hear. But you have to understand that's somebody's child. You can't go and cut a throat, cut a neck, and expect what? At the end of it, but some women sometimes go ahead and put a relationship together. The man invests in them, meaning that they send them back to school, invest in them, and then they want to break up with the man. So women have to be very aware the chances that they want to take with some men, like the new generation. Because what we're seeing now is a type of vermin and kind of furious men that they couldn't care less whatever happens. they're gonna take matters into their own hands. Now, back to where I came from. What I was speaking about a while ago when I raised. Could you imagine something I shared with you all? I could not even tell my mother. She's my mom. I couldn't even tell her. Remember the last time? You remember the last time? Good. You know why? Because they look at them as little Jesus. So, moving forward, what we need to install in our children is what you know best. If it's logette they used to give you before, tell the children why the logette is good for you. Don't put it away and go to the supermarket and look for gluten, SMG, whatever that is that the children don't need in their body. Because there's a lot of things that we go to the supermarket for, we don't really need it. So there's needs and wants. So I hope I share something with you all. Thank you.
So I will say something to what you said a while ago, and I'll speak on that. With the violence against women, I get that, right? I will make reference to the most recent gruesome killing we had of Joy. There was a voice note I'm sure a lot of people heard circulating where the person that he was staying by knew that this man carried trauma from a kid. He witnessed his father abusing his mother. And this is exactly what I was saying, where if you experience trauma because of not having an outlet or a community or a confidant, it comes out in anger in most men. And that's what you saw. It was misplaced emotions that he did not know what to do with, to the point where the end result is all what we know happened. Now, I'll go back to what one of the therapists said, is that a lot of young men have undiagnosed mental conditions, one. We go back to the trauma that sometimes is not even yours. It's carried on, like what you said, from your parents. And your father had a trauma that he never had anybody to deal with. And this is the way he got through it, so this is the way my son will get through it. Without understanding that times have changed, times are different. There's nothing wrong with just, even if you're bedridden, you can come and say, "That's a boy, Jason, happened, boy, that shot me give me stress." You understand? Like, I call Father Nature and ask him how he get over it, something like that, But you just do what you have to do instead of drowning yourself in alcohol or in work. And one of the other key aspects, and I'm sure Jason will correct me if I'm wrong, one of the aspects that you go through when a man, particularly women and men's body deal with stress differently, is that men, it's normally our hearts, and we always get a lot of belly fat, which is visceral fat, which affects our organs, where we get diabetes and whatnot. And I lost my thought there 1 second. Yes, so it goes back to the fact of the early deaths, because it's most, more men die under 65 because we get cardiovascular issues, high blood pressure, and all these sort of things.
Well, women, because of their main differentiation, which is childbearing, their hormones protect them a little better. So you find they go into their 40s, most times up until menopause, with actually better coping mechanisms, better physiological coping mechanisms. Number 2, do you know what's the default sex?
Women. Female.
Female is actually the default sex.
Female.
A lot of men don't know that before you differentiate, you're actually a woman in the womb, flooded with your mother's hormones, and then at some point, you differentiate and become a man. So there is a side of us that we have to pay attention to, that voice, that inside voice that maybe a little feminine that you do not dismiss before, to just balance you out. And as somebody with a brother who have a lot of younger males and a daughter, I think the biggest place most people go wrong is not accepting that you cannot do everything by yourself. So if you're a mother, I don't need man, accept that there are certain things you cannot really do for a young man. I definitely accepted from early, there are certain things I cannot help my daughter with, that you have to seek help from either a sister or a mother or somebody close. And it doesn't help any of us to have a resentment to the other sex. But all of us, we go through, they like men, but they don't really like men. They like woman, but you don't really like woman. Because I don't know how you could love somebody and then want to kill them at the end of the day, whether it be man or woman. And Carol, I know a lot of women with undiagnosed mental issues too. Question from the audience.
My question is not really a question, kind of like a statement in a sense. But you guys mentioned a lot about mental health issues, right? And the fact that, you need a support system and that women have more support than men do, etc. Totally agree with you on that point. But there is a bigger stigma in terms of men or people on a whole seeking professional help. Like, if someone was to say, "Oh, I see a therapist," they're gonna be like, "What happened to you? You crazy?" Like, why is the word crazy being thrown around all over the place? Yeah, like why does that have to be the case? Sometimes you might not have anybody to talk to, anybody to confide in, and speaking to a professional actually helps you put everything into perspective and feel better about certain things. Also, they're under confidentiality. So whatever you tell them is not going to be broadcasted out there. Because you might have some dark thoughts that you might only feel comfortable to discuss with a professional to help you through it, rather than speaking to your best friend or a partner who might be like, "Boss, just drink something, man. Let me go out for a drink." Like, they encouraging you in bad habits. Might be good habits to them, but it's just numbing the actual pain and the things that you're feeling. So I was just saying that, like, I mean, seeking help is one thing, but there is a bigger problem with the stigma attached to it. Because a lot of people shy away, especially men, from seeking professional help because they don't want to be labeled as something when they feel that they're not. And that's how a lot of men go undiagnosed with half of the different issues they might have. And they might not even know that they have these issues. And it's just,
I'll just say one thing. I'll say one thing that, again, you know me on stats. 60% of 60% of wives and girlfriends and mothers and sisters of men who commit suicide had no idea that person was in that mental state, which is scary. Yeah,
That's very scary.
very scary.
What's the reasoning for that?
That's what we need to figure out.
It may I just say that it just kind of says that we don't even pay attention to our own partners. If you have somebody who's living in a house with you, somebody you know.
No, that might not be the case.
And just I want to throw something out there. Antoine Fisher. I said that name. You all remember anything about that?
Yes.
Antoine Fisher.
It's very familiar, but I can't remember the situation.
Antoine Fisher. You know anything about that?
Nothing in the States.
No. Antoine Fisher is it was actually inspired by real events, but when I mention it, I'm talking about the movie Antoine Fisher, where you have this troubled youth that was being treated by his doctor, a male doctor, right? I think is Denzel Washington that played that role. And Denzel was counseling the young man to try and change his life, right? And he was giving that counsel. And he and his wife were going through their own trauma. Because I think they were trying to conceive and they couldn't conceive or something. So they were going through their own trauma. And it had to take that same boy to help him out inadvertently, more or less, to help him to get through it. Because, in other words, yes, you link to your therapist for strength, right? But then your therapist in turn needed to lean on you for strength. And it was not from the perspective of doctor. What I saw it from is the perspective of men helping men, right? So the concept of going to therapy and so on and so forth is always nice to go through. And some people think of therapy as a quick fix to the issues that they're experiencing. So even when we lead people into therapy, we have to make sure that the person that goes into therapy understands what is expected out of therapy. Because some people expect to be fixed by going to therapy, by sharing and thing, and they expect to be fixed. They expect the person to tell them, not just one session, they expect that by the time they open their mouth, right, and they express to you, that you, in turn, are supposed to give them a remedy to the problem, right? So even when we advise in persons about therapy, we have to be very mindful that some people lean on it. And I think if you remember our last episode with Father St. Rose, he also mentioned that as well, that you have to be in a state of readiness, so to speak, to receive it. You have to want it.
Yeah, because most people, when they go to the therapist, in their mind, they already know the narratives they want to spit, and they don't think they want to be fixed. They just want to tell the therapist what they want to tell them, and they're not honest with themselves. And I was going to make that same comparison with the exorcism or the spiritual treatment. If you're not honest with yourself, nobody can help you out of your hole. You have to learn how to reflect on yourself. And what the therapist can do is just point you in the direction to walk out of the darkness that you yourself walk into. The exit is the same way you came in.
You have to do the work.
Yeah, you have to put in some work yourself, and you have to be honest with the person trying to help you. If you don't want to talk to your wife, you don't want to talk to your partner and you shut down, well, then that's the road that will lead you down that path.
One thing I have to say is what is very important is being able to realize that your mental state is slipping and therefore you would need to go to therapy. Because if in yourself you cannot look at yourself and say, boy, my head not good, I need to talk to somebody. You'll never go and talk to somebody. And you'll just continue going down the road like nothing happened. But then, if you talk to somebody and somebody close to you that will be honest with you, and they could say, why, that is a little bit out of my scope. You should go to therapy. That could point you in the right direction, but most of us can't look into ourselves and just say, yeah, I need that.
Yeah, you have to learn how to self-regulate and open up. Mr. Nicholas.
What are you guys saying a while ago? You put the camera on me. So what you were saying a while ago, we were raised in a way, not only in Saint Lucia but in the Caribbean as West Indians, where the half of the panel went to Compre, right? In Compre, somebody have some madman attributes. Sick man, we glorifying the sickness. All the time the partner have some kind of mental illness. But we in the class, sick man is it? And we make sick man mentality such a good thing that you do more sick man things because we glorifying the partner as a sick man. Caribbean people don't believe that we need counseling. We don't believe in counseling because black people don't need counseling. Huh? We believe counseling is for Caucasians. You understand? We don't understand that mental health is a real thing, and it can be treated. And we grew up giving each other jokes. I mean, to the point where we normalize mental illness and not normalize treating mental illness. So that's what I would say. Yeah.
And I want to piggyback on that. The jokes is also a coping mechanism because they don't want to acknowledge the actual problem.
Like the alcohol, like the sex addictions, like the...
Working long hours, womanizing.
No, I'm serious. The sex addiction is a coping mechanism. When you don't feel empowered and you exercise over somebody else, want to control someone else's life and whatnot, all that.
That goes both sexes, eh?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Here's an example.
You were going to say something a while ago.
That's okay, go ahead.
Here's an example
Lady Young one, go ahead.
from what they were saying before. Look at the number of therapists there in each country in the Caribbean compared to the amount of rum shops.
They look at therapists.
Especially Saint Lucia, a lot of rum shops there.
A lot of therapy going on that way.
I have a question for the panel.
So, like you all to tell me or express a traumatic event or a state of mentally that you thought you couldn't come from, how you came from it, and what coping mechanisms were used to deal with those challenges.
You want me to repeat the question?
I'll start. That's easy for me. So some people here know me from a teenager. Some of them will tell you I was a crazy kid. It only took me in my late 30s to realize that I had ADHD, which is undiagnosed in terms of it portrays in different ways. But the first thing was realizing and getting diagnosed with it, and it shed a light on a lot of things from my past, which makes you feel better about yourself. Because one of the effects of undiagnosed ADHD is depression. And men with depression who don't know they're depressed numb with different things. When my aunt passed away, I went into a very deep depression. I lost weight, every little different things. And then it kind of, you reach a point in your life where if I don't do something, then this will be it. But I was not raised in the way where I understand what it is to be a man, but I also understand you can be vulnerable. And when I realized that I needed help, I sought help. You know, and I have a good friend of mine that needed help. He didn't get the help, and unfortunately, he's not here with us today. So, simple.
How do you know? How does a young person or any male individual, what patterns or traits or signs could help them identify, hey, I need to take a break because I need help?
That was a series of events for me. I don't remember if I mentioned it in the podcast with Father St. Rose, but for me, when my aunt passed away, I started to drink heavier, go out more, smoke more. And for me, it was spiritual, emotional, and personal, where I had a dream where I was out with a bear in one hand and a cigarette in another hand, and I was like a set of cars with my friends, and I'm standing up talking, laughing. And in the back, something drew my attention. I saw my aunt, and she looked as healthy as she had ever looked. And that's not how I saw her last. But the look she gave me was a look that I would know is like, you know better. You know, and I'm like, okay. In my mind, when I woke up, I'm like, all right, I understand. So I stopped and really slowed down on drinking. And then all the emotions started flooding in because I was no longer numbing. Then I realized, oh, this is what's going on. Because you're not always depressed. You go in and out of it because it also deals with your hormones and different things. But you have to be self-aware. You have to be self-aware that if I need to go have a drink, if I need to smoke a joint, or if I need to have this woman and that woman and this woman for me to feel better about myself, something is wrong. You know, I'm not saying if you like to smoke, you like to smoke. If you like to drink, you like to drink. If you like to run woman, you like to run woman. But if that's what you need, like a drug, to make you cope, something is wrong. And there's nothing wrong with just saying, yo, I need a number for somebody. Or point yourself to somebody that we all know that one person in our lives that we can confide a little bit in to get a step to the direction that we need to go. Or person. Just needs one.
All right, for me, the biggest hurdle in terms of loneliness and getting over things was my background. I have two immigrant parents. So both of them were workaholics. Mom is a nurse and my dad was a jack of all trades. So I grew up in that same thing. And I always find myself feeling guilty to take time off and enjoy myself. And before my father died, he said, well, you're really always busy. Why you don't have time? Now, the funny thing is, like he alluded to, is they don't see when they're training us to be like that because they're swimming against the tide and they're living through their situation. They don't even recognize when the situation change. You're saving money for the house, you get the house, but you're still saving as if you don't have anything. Or you're still working as if you're hungry and you're still doing everything. For me, it took both of my parents and me recognizing that or internalizing that them saying, you need to slow down, you're doing too many things. And they didn't say anything about it. They said, but why are you doing all of that? You're not seeing the shadow of where I got it from. As simple as that. And that was the beginning of the change for me. Oh, and just being sober and facing yourself. The more you try and distract yourself, the worse you make the problem.
Well, for me, one event in my life that really shaped me was in my puberty years when I just entered secondary school. That was a really hard time in my life. I was feeling like
Joel, wait,
You guys are bad.
before you say that, does it have to do with showers?
no. I don't have nothing to do with that.
No shamans, right? No shamans. No, Jason will be.
I was about to say physically or mentally.
It was mentally. So I was kind of feeling like I was alone. Like I didn't have nobody in my life. So there was one year my brother left. The next year my sister left to go to school. So it was just me and my parents in the house. And I used to be close to my sister like this. So she gone, I go into school, my friendship at school, after school, it just end. And I don't really have anything doing apart from that, only thing, church on a Sunday. So all I have apart from that is my phone. So I just on my phone, I just by myself, my mental spiraling, me and my parents arguing all the time. I feeling like it's me alone. So eventually I start talking to my sister. I telling her exactly what's happening. And she's realizing that I'm slipping. I can't realize that at that age. I have no idea what's going on. Eventually she comes up with the idea that I should come and live with her overseas, start school there. Then it didn't work out exactly. We say, all right, better I go and live with my aunt. So at 14, I left there, go to a completely new country. Well, I wasn't completely new. I've been there before. My family's from there. And I go live with my aunt. Last time I met this lady, I was 3 years old. I can remember her face. I knew nothing about her. And I start school. I tell you, first week I went to school. I used to hate school in Saint Lucia. When I went to school, I wanted to go back to school. School was nice. Our friends, the conversations actually leading somewhere, actual learning things. And I go there and I start opening up, start talking to people and start socializing, and I off my phone more and more until I'm not depressed again. I don't think about harming myself. I don't think about any of that. And that taught me how to regulate my mental state and to realize when my mental state is sliding. And if I cannot realize, I talk to my sister. I tell her exactly what's happening, what situation, and how I react to it. And then she can look at it and tell me that, okay, that's not a healthy way to handle it. You should handle it like this. And if she tells me like, yeah, your mental state is not the best, I will make a decision to try and be better. And if I'm making any major decision and I am not sure if I'm doing it at a level head, I will bring it to my sister. I'll tell her, I'll lay out everything for her. I'll tell her what I think I should do and what she has to say. And then that would give me a second perspective to see.
Yeah. It's like some character development there, Ashton.
It's a very nice question, good question. It's one that rings home, I think, with everybody.
Projection.
Yes. Because at some point in our lives, I think every person would have gone through that. But mine, I was in my teens. And my dad had a quarrel with my mom over some planks. And in the quarrel, they were heated, they were vexed. That is why self-control is important. In the quarrel, excuse me, my dad somehow made it. In fact, the question was asked. I can say it out loud. May God raise a soul. In the conversation, my mom asked my dad, so, Dudu, saugadia, and I will translate, saugadia, o si mi potoa pe on issue? And let me translate. The quarrel, my mom asked my dad, Hazi, are you basically telling me that you prefer the planks over your kids? And my dad answered, yes. Guys, trust me, you may laugh at this one, but it is something that happened to me in early teens, and at 46, I'm still remembering it. And the effect it had on me, to see that my dad actually said those words, I started having a resentment for my dad. I could not see how I could have forgiven my dad. And I want to make the wider point because I see this forum as a life-changing forum. That forum can go to all ends of the earth. And I want to stress home the point. That is why it's important to have self-control. Yes, we may get vexed. We are all human. Sometimes we will hit the ceiling. But it is important for us to know what to say, how to react, and how to take control of the situation. Because we are, and we can do, and we are doing irreparable damage in some instances. I have to go back to Carol. I have to go back to him. He said, and I have to stress home the point that there are a lot of men growing up with some messed up minds, some messed up situations. And I think you said it started with the father and the grandfather and it never got resolved. And a lot of our young men, we mentioned a few things here, a lot of our young men are growing up with issues that they have not overcome, with issues that still stab them. And they take it out on the spouse. They take it out on the girlfriend. They have not learned what self-control is, to value life, to value conflict resolutions. And I say all of that to say, when that incident happened with my dad and my mom, and I heard that with my mind, I cried for months and months, probably a year plus. Until when we had a family meeting and I had to get it off my chest. What do we do? You want to know what you did to get over it? Have to confront the situation. Now, I will not sit here to try to proclaim or come across as having all the answers, as a little saint. No. I could be a little terror when I don't control myself properly. Note how I said that. And I faced the situation and I told my dad what happened and how that affected me. Yeah. He apologized. I forgave him. And trust me, we all cried. We hugged each other and we asked each other for forgiveness. Now, that's the type of stuff that I believe can mend issues, solve problems, and help heal hurts. You understand? Now, when those things go unchecked, you have the type of problems we have in society. We glorify the sick man. I'm a sick man, I'm a sick youth. And it's almost as if we normalize the sickness in some people, or the bad attitude, or that he's a bad man, not realizing that, hey, this guy has underlying issues that has to be addressed. It probably went back to his dad who said something to him, who abused him in some form or fashion. The mother aided and abetted and encouraged it, that type of thing. So one, we have to confront the situation. We have to be honest and open about the situation. And being honest is difficult. Being honest can be very difficult. We have to seek, like he did, outside sources that can help us. So you have to look at your circle. There are people that put garbage in you. What will happen? You will put out garbage in, garbage out. If your circle is not promoting positivity, promoting,
Change,
change, positive change, you have to look at your circle, right? He mentioned something powerful, and I need to touch on it. And that's how I overcame that thing, yeah? He mentioned something about the dream he had with his mom, and the mom told him, you know better.
My aunt.
Your aunt,
She was my aunt. She was my mom.
Your aunt slash
She was
mom.
my mom. She was my mother
aunt
figure.
in the dream told him, you know better. And that's powerful. And he acted on that knowledge. A lot of us say knowledge is power. But I always go further to say knowledge with action is power. And not just action, but proper action is power. And he acted on it. There is a saying that we all know. Yes, there is a saying that we all may be aware of. As a man thinketh, so is he. If you can think it, you can achieve it. Yeah? And I can go on. I was reading something that said the mind is more powerful than all the computers on planet Earth combined. As to how true that is, I don't know. As to how much someone might be willing to test that hypothesis or that theory, they can go ahead, but I believe it. The mind is powerful to the extent that someone said it is more powerful than all the computers combined, the capabilities of all the computers combined. Now, what he did, he acted upon you know better. Some of us know better, but we don't act better. We don't act well. We let the bad pass. If you know better, do better. Act on it. Because nothing can happen unless you act on it. Nothing. I may have the faith that if I step outside there, Carol, I get $100. But I could be sitting here and just be repeating that in my mind. I have the faith, yes, but if you do not act upon it, you may never get the $100. So acting upon what we know is better will produce results. Will produce results.
All right, so to my end, because I'm a man on the panel too, just behind the camera. The circumstance or the situation I'll use is from a relationship, man-woman relationship, and the ending of one. You pour into a relationship, or you invest, I'll use that terminology a lot, and you invest your time and your effort in that relationship. And me being the person that I am investing, that's how I view it. It was hard for me to remove myself from it until the person removed themselves from the relationship. When the person removed themselves from the relationship, for the better part of probably a week, I was probably really deep into my feelings about it. All right. And I realized at that point in time that was my opening for a new beginning. So as opposed to just wallowing in that pain and wallowing in that thing, I decided to just shift the focus on the relationship, which is what I was doing biasly and not taking care of self. And that's what I realized in that time period, that I needed to take care of self more. And taking care of self more is going to enable me that if I so desire or if we so desire to repair or have that relationship, that where it would stem from. But I need to focus on self. And it takes a lot for you to shift gears from being a provider, protector, shelter, whatever it is, and being how you want to be perceived in the eyes of other individuals and not being that for yourself. So it's through me and thankfully through them having the ability to say, let's put an end to it. You understand? That gives me the impetus for me to recognize that, okay, well, you know what? Those things need to fix. And it's better I would just focus and put all my attention on I as best as I can. And through me putting that attention on I, selfishly, not for self, but selfishly, I could do better by other people. And is at that point in time, I would say, I hit a new, if you want to call it a new level. All right? That at the end of the day, that self-care, ultimately in any relationship, in any situation, is the ultimate option that you need to go. You have to go in that direction. Otherwise, if you do not do that, you will not be able to be of value to anybody else. So you need to be able to see yourself as valuable, understand your value, pull out that value of yourself, always remind yourself that you're valuable. And in so doing, it's important to say no. I think that's one of my biggest issues. Still one of my biggest issues. I'm more of a yes person. I always want to help. And right now when I do say, I still say yes a lot. But when I do say no, I value my no because sometimes I could you feel like you're letting people down. But it's okay. Just don't let yourself down. That's the most important part. That's what I got from that.
I will add to what you were saying, Kurta, is there's two important things that I want, and this goes for everyone, not only for men, but it goes for everyone. You cannot pour from an empty cup. All right? You can't pour into a cup with holes. Whatever change you have to make for yourself, especially for men, for depression, whatever, one of the things you have to realize is your boundaries in life. And like you were saying, if you want to make the change and what's surrounding you is feeding or pulling you back to where you were, you have to make the sacrifice and move. And I know because of the way we're wired, is like, that's my friend, that's my sister, that's my brother, that's my cousin. But if they are not good for you, you have to steer yourself away. Sometimes you have to isolate. You have to go into yourself and just make the change. And then when you pop back out, everybody's like, hey, that's Ashton? That's Jason? Like, hey, I don't know. That's when I see that. I'm like 6 months, a year, you're looking fit, you're looking healthier, you look whatever it is. Because some of the best revenge, and you have to look at it in such a way that you have to give yourself revenge. Your new self, your old self has to be jealous of it. You understand? Who you become has to look back and say, boy, I could never be you again. I could never be in that situation again. But like Kurt was saying, if you decide to go to therapy or confide in someone, without action, nothing will happen. Even if you say, boy, something not right, and they tell you, all right, if you go to the first session of therapy, don't expect to walk out of there feeling brand new. You just cracking the shell. Being honest with yourself and whoever you confide in or whoever you go see as a therapist is one of the most perfect things you can do. But at the same time, don't sit within yourself and self-medicate and slowly kill yourself with alcohol or sex or whatever it is, because you're going to get old. Some people don't go as far as committing suicide, but then you reach at 65 and realize you've fucked your whole life away. You know, you've just been going through everything just willy-nilly. What's the word the therapist said? Disassociating yourself from life just because you don't want to be where you are. And there's a lot of beauty to life.
Okay, so we dealing with a lot of men's mental issues, and I think in a pod previous uned, we discussed some situations that men go through from the domestic violence side of life, right? And we never really spoke about it openly, or that episode never really aired. So I want us to give some attention to that part of what drives a man into being a situation where not that it's okay for him to be an abuser, but where he's being abused by his partner, and the circumstances under which those things happen, and how can those things be addressed in our space safely, because we know there's stigmas attached to a man coming and report he being abused by his woman or something of that sort. How do we guide people who are having those experiences to come out of it?
Well, like what I said a while ago, is know your boundaries. Don't think because you're a man, you have to take it and be in this relationship because what people are going to think about you leaving this person. You know what you're going through. They're not the ones taking the verbal or physical or emotional abuse. It's you. Because this is where a lot of the things stem from. Because there's a falsehood of being a man, right? Because there's a falsehood of being able to take it, you have to stay there, you have to, and there's some women who take advantage of that. And you figure, like I say, if you leave, you're not a man. You run. You understand? You're a coward. it can stem. Yeah, it's a very hard life men carry. It's and there's sometimes you just have to. And then there's the fear of not being able to be a father because maybe you have kids, and then if you leave, if she's doing you that, what's she going to do? You for the kids or do the kids for you? And there's a whole dynamic that goes on. And like I mentioned the last time, the pastor that mentioned the way men and women's brain work is, he said your brains are like a ball of wire because everything is connected emotionally, and you operate like that. Whereas men's brains operate in boxes. Right? So when you have too many boxes open, you get a system reboot like the laptop. You understand? you snap. You need to numb because we're not wired that way. And we're also solution oriented. We see a problem, we try and fix it. We don't try and analyze it and see to stop it from happening again. We just want it happened now, fix it now. It happens now, fix it now. And by the time you check yourself, you're 65 with a bad heart, a bare belly, unhappy, and then she leave you for a younger man, and you're like, what the hell have I do my whole life? So.
Yeah.
Me?
Here's one super question.
What was the question again?
On the domestic side.
Domestic side.
Yeah, but from a man's perspective,
Being
not
abused.
being the abuser.
Okay, I remember now.
Being abused.
There's the other side of that story Carol spoke of, where the man saw his parents fighting with each other and he decided to fight with the young lady. The other side of that is some boys watch at their father and they hate them so much they say they never want to be like them. And in so doing, they overcompensate and they end up walking to the same thing they ran away from, except instead of them abusing the other person get away with a lot of things with them. I would say that you need to reconcile with your parents. You are half of this man, you are half of this woman. You have to accept that that's what makes you up. And as for the abuse thing, I don't really like to go too deep into that because there are so many nuances between each situation. Some people, as much as you like to think they have some rationale behind it, there's no real reason. They're just some people who want to see the world burn and bring people down with them. So for that topic, I like to be very, very careful with abuse because it takes two to be in an abusive relationship. Somebody have to learn to walk away. The guys need to learn to walk away, even though the girl doing one thing for you good, if she embarrassing you in public, because women do embarrassment in public and pretend like it's not that going on. Mm-hmm. I say the only way you could deal with that is just learn to be good with it and let the person go. Don't think the person change or compensate for the person that abusive. Just learn to let them go. Don't go and tell anybody and expect them to save you. You have to play your part and stay away from the person. Even though some people, they will stalk you and whatever, but you have to learn to let the person go.
Well, the way I see it, you have to know your boundaries, as I said earlier. But we in a relationship, we should have the understanding that I am stronger than you, and if I do hit you, you will end up in the hospital. And I have the understanding that if I do that, I will go to jail. So, as a man, you getting abused, you should just take yourself out of the situation. Although I know it's not. It's easier said than done for other people. For me, I just remove myself from that situation because.
So Joel, a woman never tell you like give her 2 slaps and just choke her out or anything like
You
that.
see, now that's different. That is different. Based on the based on the situation.
Yes or no?
Yes, but when it's
really
consensual.
Some of the members of our audience. Okay.
There's a difference between abuse and consensual
Abuse.
It's not abuse. It's consensual. So that's completely different. That's on the next side.
Okay.
So
But yeah, you remove yourself from the situation because man should not be hitting a woman or man should not be hitting a man in a relationship. That is just plain and simple.
But physical abuse is not the
Only abuse.
the only abuse.
Because okay, so speaking from a woman's perspective, most women know that they're smaller, physically not as strong as most men, right? And if they're trying to be a bully, they're gonna do it verbally. They're gonna get in your head. So what they're gonna do is tell you all kind of things to make you second guess yourself. And that is just as damaging as physically punching you in the fucking face.
That's right.
So you could walk away from the situation all you want. You're going to have to block she and move out the house because she going to fight you. She going to tell you something. And when you ignore somebody, it makes it even worse. Even worse. Because they find all kind of ways to poke the bear. And vice versa, because y'all man does know how to poke the bear too, eh?
That's not
Hello?
We promise.
Hello?
We promise.
Hello?
Yeah.
Point is that it's not just physical, it's verbal, emotional, psychological, all how.
Sexual.
What?
Sexual.
But that falls under the physical.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Choking out a woman in bed is completely different from choking out in an argument. That's no. That's completely different. That is different.
What I meant was, what if the man is working hard and to provide, and the woman's, you won't have as much as sex drive because he's tired, and she's demanding of him more than he can physically give because of him being tired and giving the rest of them as a man. That's what I meant.
You making that a thing. If you tired all the time, that's a problem.
Sometimes you're tired out, so we just want to sleep too, you know.
And that's totally fine. That's totally fine. I'm saying yes.
That's not wait there. Let them finish.
In terms of you want to.
I would just keep it simple. Self-preservation is the number one basic human trait. Guys, walk away from the troubles in your life. Do not let anybody, any woman, anybody at all get into your head, trouble you in whichever way possible. Find a way to just walk away. Get away from it. Avoid it as much as possible.
I hand the walk away before we go across to the other one. Willpower is not something that any and everybody knows how to tap into. For example, some of us are better at taking instructions from people than having the ability to, be assertive in our own way, right? Now, if you have somebody, a man, who is already defeated by his mother, already defeated by his father through parentage coming up, and he's in a relationship where he's always seeing himself as being subservient to another being, right? He coming out of that situation is easier said than done, right? What we need to do in that manner is more or less see how we could address that individual that doesn't have that willpower to pull himself out of the situation, right? And we focus, like I said, to the on men, but that's a general rule for human beings and life, right? But for men, boy, I tell you, sometimes I see people in situations already, and bro, sometimes I wonder, it's sounding so simple for me. Like, why you inside of that? Yeah, so what you inside of that? But my processing, my ability, and where I'm at, and what my experiences have been, is not comparable to his. I could never fathom. It's like that analogy I always remember growing up. If you have to put your problems into a basket. All of us put our problems into a basket, saying, okay, we're going to sort out for the easier problems from other people. Brother man, you're taking all your problems back. Because when you see what people have to be dealing with, you could never fathom it, right? So I know we want to tell people walk away, but we have to come better than that. We can't just tell people walk away, because it's easier said than done. How do we start the trend to make people realize, first and foremost, I need to develop the will to do the things that I need to do as a man?
Let me hear from.
It's what I want to start out by saying to us and the wider audience here. We all should say no to abuse, right? Let us start at that point. Yeah, no to abuse, whether it's male or female, whether it's a male or female perpetrator. Right? That's one. The other thing we have to try to practice is that we need to learn to do unto others as we would like others do unto you. He said something there that I have to touch on. A lady, let me backtrack a little. Abuse is a process, and abuse is something that starts and progresses over time. One may agree, one may disagree. If a woman slaps me today, may start with a little slap, right? If a woman slaps me today, again, self-control, like he said, I'm a man. If I really have to bring out the money in me, one lash from me can do irreparable damage on you. So I'll try to control myself and ask my wife or my partner, what did you just do? Why do you think you had to do that? We need to talk about that. Like you said, address the situation one way or the other. Right? Why do you think you had to slap me? And set boundaries and let the person know, the woman know, hey, it's not okay to slap me. I may be timid, I may not be a lion in the house, but it's not okay to slap me. Again, I'm not your child, I'm not a punching bag. It's not okay to slap me, don't you ever dare. If you feel you will get to that point or have to get to that point, I'm telling you, walk out. Remove yourself. Go outside, right? But not slap me. Because like I said, it starts at one point. Today it's a slap, tomorrow it's 2 slaps, and the next week it might be a punch, right? So it is something that starts and festers and builds. It's a complicated issue. I can tell you it is a complicated issue, like I believe he said, because we cannot seem to understand how some people will stay in that type of situation. We cannot. Again, it speaks to self-love. He spoke a lot about walking away, and you're so very right. I hear walking away, but walking away from what and to what? You have to look at the economic situation. A lot of the times, right? A lot of the times you have an economic situation in there. 2, where is the man going? Who might accept a man at their home whose lady is beating him? Very few, if any. Your mother might not take you back. Your brother might not take you into the house. You understand? So the walking away is not as easy as he's saying. I want to strengthen that point by bringing up a session that I went, a training that I went to years ago at my workplace down at the power station. And to strengthen your point, my brother, we had some experts in the house on abuse, domestic, whatever, psychiatrists. And again, they were just saying, walk away. The expert was saying, you walk away, you walk away. So I listened to the conversation and I asked a question. I said to the panel, you are saying to walk away, walk away, walk away. Most times, you have situations where the man is being abused. He has the means to take care of himself, and it goes both ways. Huh? He has the means to take care of himself, right? The woman may have the means to take care of herself, and yet they stay in that situation. You know what the answer was? Because of name and prestige, they stay. Do I have the answers? Can you just walk away? It's not as easy as we think. But I believe, one, you must sit and talk about the situation. If the lady does not want to sit, stand. Stand and talk about it, because it's the man being abused. She believes she's strong. She believes she has to hit on you. She believes she has to pounce on you. Let her know that two can play this game. The man must bring the man out in him, right? Let her know that two can play this game. But because, one, it's not right, they have consequences. I may end up in jail, right? You may end up in jail. It might break a marriage. It might affect the children and a whole lot of other stuff. You have to, as a man, speak to that person, seek outside counseling or outside help if you need. The law must play its part. The Domestic Violence Act, as much as I understand it, when such situations happen, if a man comes to report this, or woman, if the man comes to report that he's being abused, unlike before, the Domestic Violence Act is mandating that the law must step in, right, and address the situation in whatever way they can, in whatever form or whatever fashion, right? Unlike before, right? So it's something that needs a lot more discussion on, but I will end by saying, hey, rule number one, you must do unto others as you like them to do you. That lady must understand who's pouncing on the man or who is abusing the man, whether physically, psychologically, emotionally, like you mentioned, right? That is not right. This can only end wrong. It can only end badly. It can only end in some sort of hurt, pain, disaster, death, wound. And we do not want to go down that. So it's something that has to be tackled head on with maturity, with humility, with all the gadgets that can be used to stop that man from being violated from that lady. Yeah. Now, one other point I want to make, that lady, that man was being abused, because I can tell you, I want to bring up this situation. When I went to school, there was this young lady, there was this girl that we went to school with. I swear that girl had the strength of Samson. She had the stature, she had the bravery, she had the aura and the demeanor, and she had the strength. And it's almost as if she knew that the girl would fight at school. And no amount of fellas that would have fought with her, they would get their ass kicked. And when I mean the ass kicked, their ass kicked. Now there are ladies who are physically strong, and she might find a man that she may be physically stronger than. That's a reality, because I cannot see how a man and a woman going at it, right? That the woman will not end up with more blows. So if it's a situation where that man is less stronger in stature and whatnot than that woman, right? Not just that.
Maybe he likes manly women.
Not just that. He, again, in addressing the situation, he can let that woman know, or if it was me, I'll let that woman know, hey, I cannot face you face to face. But if I go and take a pose, like I said, it can only end wrong. So we do not want to go there. So you have to oppose. Yeah. We have to address that situation, speak to that lady, let her know, hey, I'm not a punching bag. Maintain your boundary. Do unto me as you would like me to do unto you. And I believe that can help that domestic violence. It is. There's no doubt it is calling for strength. It is. There's no doubt this is calling for strength.
Carol, let's bring it over.
Normally I have to have a little closer. You know, when I refer to the shabbing, I'm not talking about the red skin people. I'm talking about your worst fear when it comes to a woman. I like us to remember also the marginalized boy roaming the streets without purpose is more than a stereotype. He is the reflection of an unspoken pain. A reminder of how easily silence becomes struggle. Speak to him. Maybe help him to try and figure out himself. I'm not telling you to go and try and help us zombie, but at least mentor one person if you can. Most of us are wondering without realizing it. That's it for me.
And for me, strength isn't just pretending to be okay. Strength is really just, being honest with yourself, seeing that, maybe there might be an issue or something that you could resolve, and just trying to improve yourself and your surroundings. That's real strength right there.
All right, Joel, I don't want to skip you. Let's go.
Well, one thing you all need to learn to do, we all need to learn to do is learn to regulate our emotions and to recognize when our mental health is slipping. And I feel like we all need somebody that we can confide in, somebody who is always honest with us, and we can talk to, and they will give us honest feedback on what we're doing and how we need to change our emotion, our actions, so we can be better ourselves and improve our mental situation.
I have one question for you.
Yeah.
I realize that you have a special bond with your sister. Why your sister not your older brother?
Me and my sister were, when we were growing up, we were extremely close. We were closer than, my brother was a teenager at that point. My sister, when I was born, my sister was 7 years old. So essentially,
Just closer in age.
had an extremely close bond. So it just continued all the way through my life.
And you don't think there are circumstances in terms of between your two siblings, because you fortunate to have two that have very wide margins in terms of age and have lived experiences. There's nothing you really need in your brother.
Yeah, far and few between, but yeah, in certain situations.
I guess that's not important. That's all.
Yeah. I was curious as well. Yeah, well, I just want to thank all of you for the opportunity, especially Rimondo, who asked me to come and at least be part of this life-changing, very important discussion. I want to thank my wife for coming and stay up with me. My boy has fallen asleep. They're my world. And like I said earlier on, I believe we should see these as, a conduit for change, positive change, and helping impact the ills we have and helping change and solve some of the ills we have in our society. And I believe that would have really put a lot of feathers in our cap as men. And for us as men to continue with that network and that bond and that connection to be each other's keeper. And I believe that will go very, very, very long way.
I love you.
Thank you. So I will close with a few points. Some of the things for men's health support. Simple, open conversations. Initiate discussions with men in your life. Ask how you really and truly feel and listen without judgment. Like Kay said, we listen but don't judge. Challenge the stigma. Educate yourself and others that seeking help is a sign of strength and not weakness. Encourage professional help. Normalize therapy and counseling. Share resources for finding qualified mental health professionals and other ways. So, promote healthy living. So, like my friend messaged me, with serotonin, it helps with depression and different things. Going to the gym actually physically assists you in coming out of depression and anxiety and different things like that. So there's foster connections also. Like I say, with your friends, people that you can confide in. As I say, you just need one person in your side that you can bounce off of or talk to you and do what they have to do.
Yeah, but you have to go back to the same home with that.
Yeah,
with that.
but we're talking about the end result because sometimes you don't have it's you as the individual there now. Mm-hmm. So you're talking about how you work from there forward.
Okay.
So I would like to end this one with a big thanks to everyone that has participated and given all the information, and some of us who have given a little bit of insight to ourselves and everything. I thank the ladies for just listening and not judging and being supportive.
Let me open them up.
Time out.
The ladies, not the shabby.
Okay, all right.
Wow. And she's not shabby. She's great.
So
6.5
I thank everyone for this. I hope this actually reaches a lot of people and a lot of understanding. Peace.